Unavailable.
Hey everybody, this is my video, one of my videos for today. I'm probably going to do more of it. Sorry I didn't start talking right away. I was listening to the announcement. It's already 3 o'clock in the afternoon. Because I've just been like chillaxing. Jess went to Treehouse, to say hi and get out of the building. And I wanted to, tell everybody some news that's very sad. Comit, who was our first foster kitty, who I don't think I have videos on this channel of us together. I think it's on my friend Jess's channel. But I can like find a link and like post it in the link of another video, randomly, or maybe I can find a link and like go in and edit the description. But Comit was our foster kitty and she was amazing. She went back to the shelter not this past Tuesday, but the Tuesday before. She was going to be put up for adoption. It seemed like she was medically okay, even though they tested her for leukemia. And, over the past weekend, she got really sick, and it turned out that she had a heart disease and clot in her chest. And she just got really, really sick, and I guess they said that there was nothing that she would have just gotten worse and worse. So they had to put her to sleep, which is really, really sad. But I'm glad that at least it happened at the shelter where people know what they're doing. It just so happens that they had a heart specialist there that day that like they usually aren't in, but they were there that day to confirm everything. I'm really glad it didn't happen with us. I'm glad we didn't see her getting worse and worse and have to take her in and everything else like that. That would have been terrible. I think that would have scared Jess and I away from fostering for good. This is just really sad, but we will keep fostering. It's amazing. It's amazing we can do this here. Like, staff loved having the cat here and there was no problems, so... And I'm especially glad that it didn't happen in some poor family's, home, that they adopt this cat and like everyone loves it and then it dies like a week later. Like, that is just so sad. So I'm sad, but I'm glad. I'm so tired. I'm glad that it didn't happen. Like I said, I'm glad how it happened was how it happened. And like my friend Betty said, like, animals don't really see death the same way, and they just kind of are more chill about it. And so she's probably like hanging around us, just like chillaxing and having a good time, eating treats. We just can't see her. But yeah, so that was our news. And so Jess is over there like decompressing and probably talking to the staff and maybe hopefully seeing cats, if at least through the window. So yeah, I just want to talk about my day so far. It's been a pretty good day. This morning I just took my nap. And I thought I'd be really tired for art therapy, but I wasn't, and so I just went. It's a good thing I'm not at a place where they have like a ton of groups all day, because I don't think I'd be able to survive. But yeah. Or that they make you go. Oh, sorry. I need to drink some water. Or that they make you go to all the groups all day. They have groups here, but you don't have to go to all of them. But, and like the art therapist and the music therapist actually aren't on the clinical like team people. I have no idea why. I think they definitely should be. But they're put in the activities category, which I think kind of gives the whole thing like a disservice, because their work with us is just as valuable as any of the other therapists or anybody who works with us. And I think they might know more about certain things, and not just arts, but, working with people than some of the people that work here and are on the team. So I don't understand why they're not included on the team. And so that means that I don't think that they can, like, give updates to the case managers. I mean, obviously, if someone, like, goes in there and says they are suicidal or want to hurt someone or does a disturbing picture and, says that that's them, then I'm sure they could, tell somebody. But I don't think that they can give updates or really be in touch with the with the caseworkers or team, and like I said, I think that's really stupid. And Angela, the art therapist, says that all the different facilities she's at, she is part of the team. She writes updates, and she said it's so weird coming here and not writing updates and just doing a really unstructured thing where people just come in and do art. But she is very good, talks to you a lot about what's going on, and really listens. So I got to tell her about how I don't have a dissociative disorder, because she was someone that I guess had worked with people with DID, and so was more open to talking to quote unquote these other identities people. But she listened to everything I had to say, and she said that mostly she just listened, but she talked about how everybody has parts of themselves, and I'm like, I know. This is not that. Please understand that. But now I just it's kind of like when you talk about like being blind or whatever, and someone's like, oh yeah, I had like a cousin that was blind. I totally understand how you feel. And it's like, no, wait, like you don't. Like this is in a totally different category. And it's not even in the category of like I even want to have this thing going on. So like I know a lot of people that are multiple, and identify as being multiple are like really annoyed with people who are like, yeah, it's the same thing as me having different parts of myself. And they have to be like, well, no, it's not. And I'm not upset by it. I don't consider it a disability, like whatever. Me, I'm like, no, it's not. And the version of it that looks like this is not actually what's going on with me. And so it's please don't look at this and think that I'm a multiple, because I'm not, and so I don't even fit into like that category. I just fit into like girl with strange symptoms. If you think about it from a mental health point of view, if you think about it from a spiritual point of view, it's that I have these ghosts and energetic beings around me that decide to just do their own thing. But I heard from a person, because I was posting on an internal family systems Facebook page, our group, and I told them all about this, and she says, oh, well, I have DID, and I guess in some DID systems we have these things called walk-ins, and they're these, spirits that just basically enter our system because our energy is so high, vibrationally, whatever, because they are, separated into all these parts and everything else like that. So they're like, yeah, we have this, and I'm like, okay, that's interesting, but I don't have DID. But then someone else was like, well, in the model, they used to call them critters. There are these things called unattached burdens, and they're these, they're not considered any of the categories of parts. They're not the self leader. They're not anything. They're just bad, things that should not be there. And I'm like, yeah, that's exactly what's going on. I have these things that should not be here that are, bad. I mean, like she described it as like darker energy, but I don't really think it's darker as much as like just shouldn't be there and is annoying. Like, it's not like, oh my god, I'm attached to like an evil dark force. Like, especially the child, Honey, is just like annoying as hell and just wants to be there and wants to do her own thing and wants to live through me as a child. Where like she probably has a mom someplace in, the other world, or some friends somewhere, and she could just go do that, but instead she's hanging around me, So it's like, okay, this is just irritating as hell, annoying, and embarrassing. How is it embarrassing? How would you like to know that you called someone a name and you didn't even know you did it? Like, that's what happened in art therapy. And I know it was a test because Honey had always been in art therapy. I was not present for any of the art therapy sessions except the first one. I think I was there for 15 minutes, and then the others, took over. So Honey had always been in art therapy making stuff, and she liked Angela because Angela knew about DID. So Angela treated everybody equally and everything else like that. And so, she came out, I guess, a couple times, and one of the times at the end, she called Angela a stupid idiot, which means that I called Angela a stupid idiot in a different voice with a different name, but I still called her a stupid idiot. So it's like, oh my god, I am so embarrassed, and, At least I didn't call her a worse word, and it just, I'm like, oh my God. We have a relationship, like, because I've seen her many times, and she knows, and I asked Jess, I'm like, well, what did she, what was her expression on her face? And Jess is like, well, she went quiet for a minute, but I think she understood, but Jess is like, next week you have to apologize. And I'm like, I know, because you have to be accountable for what these things do. And you can't just be like, well, this happened. Like, whether it's alter, whether it's whatever, you have to say, like, I'm sorry that this happened, because it's not the other person's fault. And it might not even be your fault, but you have to still say this happened. You can't, like, deny it. And you have to be the one to say, I'm sorry this happened. So I'm going to have to say I'm sorry this happened. And it's just like, it wasn't, because, and I guess there was a couple other times that she took over and Jess would call my name, and I came out of it, and I'm just like, why is this happening? Oh my God, I want to just crawl into a hole in the ground, please. So, that was just horrible to me, and it gave me a headache. And so I had lunch, and then I fell asleep for a little while. And then there was this other staff member. There's this staff member, Debbie, that runs, I think, the group program. Like, she does all the programming. Everyone was like, yay, Debbie, like, clapping outside my room. So I don't know if it was like a meeting, if it was her birthday, if it was like the last day she was here, if they gave her a present or something, but it was like, yay, Debbie, and like clapping, and I'm like, ugh, I'm sleeping, please stop. So I woke up and started watching YouTube videos and everyone's family lives, and then I'm like, why don't I just make a video? So I'm making a video. So yeah, that's my day, is that I did art therapy, lunch, and I'm just chillaxing. So we can fill out art therapy on my incentive card, which I'll talk about in another video. We have incentive cards here to like make us do stuff so we can get points and then go to a store and like catch those in for like snacks and other things. Shampoo, soap, gift cards. They have all sorts of things to like help you do stuff. But anyways, so that's about it. I think I told you that I'm not going to see Megan again tomorrow because she forgot she was not going to be there this week. But I will see her on the 28th. And my mom did email her. They did connect on email, and so they're gonna work out the payment thing. So yeah, and that's about it for now of talking about what's been going on with my mind. I think for today, unless I have any other like huge insights or something happens. Please don't let anything happen. And I guess the other thing, I'm just thinking about like therapy, and like I think I have a lot of questions for her. And like a huge one is going to be like, what is your limit going to be on, obviously you can't predict the future, but, if she couldn't work with me anymore because something came up in the therapy that was too much for her, how would she handle that? How, would I just get totally like said, you have to leave because I don't have money to, what would happen? Because I am working with her as an intern, and I know people are full. Other therapists are full, and I don't know if I would just get like kicked out. Not kicked out, but I can't. You can't work with me, so we don't really know what to do because the resources in the area are so limited. Or what would happen, and what to her mind and to her supervisor's mind would be like something that she just couldn't take in my situation. So I can list. Like, what if we find out that it is a dissociative disorder? Because she was wondering how he ruled it out so quickly. And I said, I don't know. Because we were talking about, like, whether these, these are parts of you, like, what if they were? And I'm like, well, then I'd be multiple. And she's like, why would you be multiple? I'm like, because they're separate, completely separate states of consciousness from me. And she's like, well, what if they weren't? I'm like, well, they are, because I am totally not conscious of myself and my surroundings and my whole way of being when I'm in one of them. And she's like, oh, right, so how did he rule this out? I'm like, I don't know, and I don't know like the process. So I haven't posted in a dissociative disorders group in the longest time because I get them mad because I don't identify as multiple. I don't see what I'm going through as a good thing. I think it's a good thing for people that do have it and identify however way they identify. But I don't identify it that way, but it seemed like my experiences only seemed to fit that category. So in order to talk about my experiences, I was, reaching out into that community, but then again, that community wasn't really helping and it made them upset and triggered when I would say things about, what was going on, and they say, well, you're saying this about actual people, which is their experience of being multiple. And my experience is just having these separate kind of things, taking over my mind and body and everything. So it was really a hard thing. So I just pulled back from everything multiple related. But I did post, one thing today, and I was just like, do you guys know the, the process for ruling out DID or a dissociative disorder? Like, can someone say they ruled it out after, what does it take to have someone say, yes, I've ruled this out completely? There's a process for diagnosing something, so is there a similar process for making sure that is not the diagnosis? So, that could be a thing. I mean, I don't want it to be, but it could be a thing that I have some sort of dissociative disorder. And, so what would that do for her? Would she still be able to work with me? Would she still be able to work with me if I had panic attacks in her office? I don't know. Would she still be able to work with me if it turned out I had some, huge trauma that I don't know about and that, I've repressed? I can list, several things that I could think of in that area, and, just, wondering, what is her limit on working with me around certain issues, because that was the whole thing that stopped Jonathan. Is like, well, he said, well, I can help you with every issue and no matter what goes on, everything, and I'm like, okay, whatever, because not a lot was going on, and I knew how things were going in my own head, and I didn't think anything would ever come up that he couldn't work with me on, and it turns out that it did. So I want to ask her, and I want her to ask her supervisor, that question. So I want to talk to her about that, because it's very hard to trust someone after what happened with me and Jonathan, and what's happened with me and the rest of the mental health professionals around all this situation, where either they just ignore stuff right in front of their face, or they justify, I saw something on a Facebook group justifying some other therapist doing exactly what Jonathan did. They'd been working with this woman for 2 years, and all of a sudden the person said, well, and I don't know this person, I don't know this story, but she wrote that the therapist said, I don't have anything to offer you clinically, so I'm not going to work with you anymore, and that's it. And she was horrified and just heartbroken, obviously, because she has trauma and severe things going on. But and a lot of the people did say, I'm so sorry this happened and everything else like that. A few people were like, well, she was professional, she was wicked professional. She did the ethical thing in not working with you, not continuing to work with you, because if she did continue to work with you a minute longer than she thought she couldn't, then it's like an ethical thing, and she could lose her license if she kept working with you, and this is just the right thing to do, and this is just how it is, and they could lose their license, and it's just, I'm like, really? So that excuses them doing it however they decide, and being a complete jerk about it. But it's the same, and I just couldn't believe that it was coming from peers to other peers, because I was getting it from other different staff I talked to, and the only person that said it's really that really sucks was Megan. Most other staff, most other professionals, I would tell, they're like, yeah, that was the ethical thing for them to do, and that's it, oh well, and so I asked Angela, our therapist, today, I said, I understand this whole ethical thing, but is there any kind of ethical other thing that says you can't be a jerk about it when you do it? And she's like, yeah, it's the same thing as, you do no harm by you're not keeping this person in therapy, or saying you can help them when you can't, or, just letting them, spiral, or doing it, anything longer than you feel you can be, whatever. But she said there's another, you can't do harm by just dropping them and not referring them to anyone and not giving them any transition and just making it feel like it's their fault and they're horrible. Because she said the ending is almost as important, if not as important, as the beginning of therapy, which is something that my Leslie professors would say, which makes me feel all the more warm-hearted towards Angela. But and it makes total sense, and I'm just like, yeah. So I don't understand what's up with that, But I don't understand why everybody is so, like, oh, justifying, like, really justifying it and not looking at the feelings of this other person who is in, like, a wicked vulnerable state anyways because of the trauma and the relationships. And it probably took this person, well, I'll say for myself, it took me, like, 3 years to build up the relationship I had with him to really trust him. And we went through so much so that by the time this all happened to me, yeah, I was totally trusting him. I was like, this is horrible. I had this horrible experience with him in his office. Like, we haven't gotten a chance to talk because he's busy. And then, and then I went to the hospital. And, okay, I went to the hospital. They know I'm not suicidal, whatever. This is great. I'll come home. We will work this out. Absolutely 100%. I have thoughts on this. He has thoughts on this. We'll sit down and solve the problem because that's always what he said we would do. Nope. It didn't happen. So I had that level of trust with him. And he was that good of a clinician. He is not a bad clinician. He is good at what he does. But he completely screwed up. And he has a thing about him with not holding himself accountable for his behavior towards staff, toward other residents, probably to people in his life. I mean, he's not married. He doesn't have kids. He's not shy about saying that. He says it's because of his work. I think it's because of these issues. I mean, it could be also because of his work, but I can't just say, oh, he's a horrible person, goodbye, because he's not. I mean, he did life-changing work with me, and he got me back to life. And I'll always remember him, and I'll always remember the good things he said to me and how he helped me. And I think why I'm not cutting or suicidal or worse now is because of him and the strength he helped me build, inside me. But he also screwed a lot up and gave me way more trust issues than I ever had coming in to see him, because I was used to, I had one really bad unethical therapist that I'll tell you about at one point, but the last couple of therapists I had were really good. And the problem when I came to Chicago was I just couldn't find a therapist that I clicked with. And so when I did find one, it was him, and it just worked out like that. So I didn't have huge trust issues about therapists. Now I do, and now I have a lot, and well, not just them, but the professionals in general, especially with something, I've seen the worst side of the mental health system. I never saw that side of the mental health system before until I had this breakdown and stuff like that. I have seen probably not the worst side. I'm sure other people have seen worse. People talked about being severely abused in hospitals. I've seen the worst emotional abuse side of the mental health system, I'll say that. And it was a huge wake-up call thing for me because I didn't understand when people were talking about psychiatric abuse and whatever. I thought it was their individual trauma, and I respected that, but I'm like, I don't really understand the big picture. Now I do. And I can kind of go off on a rant on it if I don't calm down. So I don't want to do that in this video. But I do want to say that it's something that me and Megan are going to have to really talk about because, I can't just open up in a relationship, even going there and talking and being in front of her and maybe something happening, like being taken over, or just whatever. My mind is so suggestible when I'm open to feeling whatever I'm feeling, and I'm usually not doing that in front of a person. So that's going to be a huge thing to talk about. And I wish we could do it tomorrow, but it's not going to be till next week. Anyway, so that's my talk for now. My day, art therapy, things I want to talk about with Megan. That's about it. Okay, I will talk to you guys later, and I will do a quick video later of my art piece. Jess will have to help hold it to the camera so you guys can see it, or else I'll just have it in the air and you'll be like, I didn't see anything. Okay, talk to you later. Bye-bye, people. Okay.
My movie. Web.
Come on.
No, web. My movie. Stop button.